This is Kara Newman. This is the Saturday Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It is Saturday, the 26th of September, 2020. And today our special guest is our very good friend, Tyler Ellison. Hi, Tyler. How are you doing?
Hey, Karen. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on again. It's been a while and so
Yeah.
fun to be here with Hucolo. I love the energy and I love all the different people I meet through these events. There's such a diverse audience, and each person I find, at least with the channeling, everyone seems to ask very intricate questions. So it's very appreciated.
Very good. Well, you've been very busy since we last talked. So you've had a lot of different events you've been doing online and I think in person as well. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing? And then also you said you have a big announcement. So why don't you include that?
Oh, great. Thank you. So I have been busy. I've had a lot of life adjustments, life changes, changes in career, education over the last few months. And I think that's very much in nature with the fall energy. I know we just had the equinox, so I find in my own life right now, a lot of stuff is changing, but the channeling has been continuing to grow. It's probably the one constant in my life that I watch grow because it gets this consistent effort and energy. And in terms of events and sort of announcements and whatnot, we just had one of our events last night called Playing with Polarity, which was one of my favorite ones because it gets into the techniques that allow for people to let go of belief systems, which according to Ryok, oh, that's the other announcement. My guide's name has slightly shifted to match the original name that he gave me when I began channeling him, which is Ryok. So I just wanted to also, that's another announcement I forgot about. But pretty much this transmission, though, Playing with Polarity, is about a technique that allows for us to access the belief system level of our consciousness, which according to Ryok is the matrix generation level. So it's where the belief systems are. That is the level that creates our experience of ourselves and our external reality. So it's a transmission on how to access that level and how to let go of negative belief systems that create negative experiences in one's life, and how to use positive imaginings to derive positive belief systems to create more positive experiences. So it's one of my favorite transmissions because of the technique itself and what it really allows for. So you can get to those basal levels where subconscious belief systems reside, so they can ultimately be transformed to create different energy patterns so one can have different experiences in their life. So that is the transmission we did yesterday, Playing with Polarity, which was very exciting. So that's currently for sale, and that's for $35, which can be purchased through me, through my email, which I can give out at the end. We do about one major paid transmission per month. So we'll have another one coming up for October, which is crazy that that's already upon us. And I have a hunch it will likely have to do with Atlantis. There seems to be a lot of time correlation between October and Atlantis. And I know that's what Ryo talked about last year, this time, which is also very crazy to think about the amount of time I've been doing this. But that will be coming up in October. So we'll have specific dates announced within the weeks to come.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. That's wonderful. So what is your website for everyone who's listening?
So my website to book private sessions is yinyangchanneling.com. So you can pay through there, you can book through there, and yeah, very easy site. So I would say if you want privates, go to Yin Yang Channeling. And then for staying tuned with events that I'm doing and staying tuned with transmissions, etc., I would recommend subscribing to my YouTube channel, Health Thyself, or following me on Facebook. We have a few different groups, but one is Ryok Channeling, which would be RIOK, Ryok Channeling. That's a group where we'll make upcoming announcements so you can tune in and stay informed with the events. So if you want to stay in the loop, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Facebook page, and then for private sessions, you can find me at yinyangchanneling.com.
Okay, you're very evolved since we first started talking. You've got all
Oh,
kinds of things going on. I'm so
oh, thank
glad.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the observation. I take it, I get used to it. I have so much that happens that I'm just like, oh, like so much is going on. It starts to feel still, which is a
Yeah.
whole other sensation. But anyway,
Awesome.
yeah, a lot of evolution.
Perfect. Great. Okay, well, we'll start with the blessing. We'll have Dawn do a blessing, and I think if there's anyone else who wants to do a blessing, just indicate in the chat. If not, we'll just go with Dawn. But go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Tyler. Blessings. Tarokko sientes ai mogosk al lauste undvarar kultuur keishe sa out ud de mokoitaska diakach urak asunta siat aura matu taral talien titsko tiantasi.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me go back here to Tyler here. Spotlight video view. There you are. Okay.
Hey, good to be here.
So if we'll just start, and then obviously usually it's Ryuk now, right?
Ryuk, correct.
Ryuk. And it was Ryuk.
It was Ryuk before. I ended up sort of over time leaning into Ryuk more, and it sort of stuck. Then I had this period of intense reconnection with him, and when I had this sensation of reconnection and realignment, I had a memory, right, of the sort of original term and name that he gave me, and it felt significant to sort of reutilize that and let that sort of become the name that he's known by. Specifically because I think it came through originally. So something about that sort of original aspect to it made it feel significant to use. And from what I gather, he said that name, even though they don't have names, it's really just a term.
Yeah.
Easier identification. He talks about that being as a term more aligned with his overall frequency. So I like using it because in a certain sense, it helps me to feel more connected to him, utilizing that original term. So that's sort of the reason behind the shift and why that happened.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that. Well, with the beings I channel, Theos, that means knowledge of God, and or the study of God, even. And what they said is that's not our name. We don't run around calling ourselves Theos, but we gave that name to you because of what that means, that they are my knowledge and study of God, basically. So I think that I recognize what you're saying. I'm trying to say.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I recognize the conversation of why a name is selected and what the significance is and how it guides you in your relationship with them, which is, I think, a very important, people channel the beings, but the relationship between you and your higher self or whomever you're channeling is just as important as the information you're bringing through, that connection that you have and that clear understanding of them and their message and all of the things that it brings to you over time. And it's nice to watch it evolve and to see how it changes. So okay, so we will ask you to please channel now, and as the information comes through, they'll probably open it up for questions, and then we can take questions from the chat. If anyone wants to ask a question, just put a Q in the chat, and I'll call on you in order. And then also Don will be watching the YouTube, and he will be taking questions from there.
Excellent.
Okay, perfect. All right, everyone. So enjoy, and we'll see you just a little while again.
Cool. Perfect. Enjoy, everybody. Thanks for being here. There we go. Sort of soundproof my space just a little bit more. All right, and we thank you so much for the unique co-creation of this interaction. As always, it is our civilization's highest joy, passion, excitement to be able to speak to each of you in this unique way. We will begin today's transmission with the following idea, which is your planet is in many ways preparing for a expansion type of energy dynamic. This dynamic in many ways is correlated with what you consider to be aspects of your civilization, aspects of your society opening back up, things within your cultures beginning to reemerge in terms of people publicly, outwardly expressing themselves and interacting with one another. What we are referring to here is the idea of a transition, a change, a frequency shift within the timeline expression that you call coronavirus. In general, what we are detecting is that it is likely this type of reopening will begin in a way where small pockets of the population, certain areas will begin this process. They will, in that sense, begin to stabilize the energies that relate to the belief system of being safe in public, being able to safely interact with one another. And as those frequencies become more and more consistent, more and more prevalent in your public area, you will find that this will begin to pave the way for a reemergence, a expansion within your collective consciousness. In other words, right now you are essentially passing through what we consider to be the 3/4 mark, the 3/4 mark of this overall collective theme. And the reason that we are mentioning this to you now is because the way your society reopens is not something that happens arbitrarily. It's not something that happens outside of your frequency, outside of your vibration. It's something that emerges and occurs in synchrony, in alignment with your vibration, with your frequency. So during this 3/4 mark period, you have the ability to really make any types of finishing touches that you would like to make within your overall consciousness that can allow for you to experience the energy of those finishing touches, those tweaks, those modifications, those upgrades in your collective civilization as you all continue to more greatly open back up with one another. Now, one of the ways that you can detect the finishing touches within you that are in certain ways asking to be crystallized, that are asking to be birthed more greatly in your field so you can express those energies collectively once your society opens back up, the way to detect these finishing touches is by paying attention to any creative impulse within you. Paying attention to any type of inspired idea that has been present, maybe has been present for some time, maybe emerges in your consciousness as some kind of reoccurring thought or reoccurring inspiration. But take an inventory of yourself during these times so you can examine any types of inspired energies that are asking for expression in your life, because those actions that represent the expression of those creative impulses are energetic keys. As those energies are expressed in your physical reality through action, it's as if you're opening up within your reality certain portals that allow for you to begin to merge your frequency of reality with a parallel reality that is more positive and that is more aligned with the inspired baseline of that creative action. And as you open up more of these portals through expressing those creative impulses, what we are calling the sort of finishing touches in this process, as more and more and more of those actions are expressed, the merging with that positive parallel reality becomes greater and greater and greater and greater, So as your civilization then opens back up and begins to reemerge, there will be a significantly higher presence of that energy that you have been cultivating within your life, within yourself. And this is a way you can begin to guide the flow of your new expression of Earth, because that's essentially what you're all moving into. The paradigm your collective let go of existed based on the belief systems, the energy at the time which it exists, which is what you consider to be your past. It's still connected to the now through your consciousness, side by side, co-occurrently occurring with your frequency of the now. And this past reality, in many ways, will serve you as an example of what you do and don't prefer. So as you move into your new frequency expression of Earth, as you move into your new reality, you will have, in hindsight, the idea of the old paradigm, what worked, what didn't work, what served you positively, what didn't serve you positively. So you can use that hindsight to more powerfully sculpt the frequency of Earth you are moving into. And you can then also draw upon the inspiration that comes from the inspired creative actions to assist you in dreaming greater dreams about what you prefer to experience on that version of Earth that you're all expanding into, that you're all moving into, that you're all co-creating. And as you connect with that inspired action, with that creative action, your ideas that are asking to be created, that represent your joy, that represent passion for you, as you begin to act those actions out in your life, as you express those themes, you will then become more dialed in with their essence. So as you move into your new expression of culture, your new expression of Earth, you will then have that energy to draw upon, so you can consciously sculpt and craft and create your individual as well as your collective experience. Every action that you take is an opportunity to align with that new version of Earth more greatly. Because through your imagination, you can take actions in your life that represent what you would be doing on that preferred version of Earth that is calibrated by your passion and your excitement. Every action that you take is an opportunity to align with that frequency of Earth and to effectively channel that frequency of Earth into your present, into your experience of the now. So you will then be guiding the now, you will be guiding how your present moment expresses itself consciously, which is how you then create the future. Because the future, again, is not something that exists outside of you. It is something that is contained within you as multiple infinite possibilities as well as probabilities. And it is your action in the moment that aligns with one of those potential futures that then creates, in terms of your linear experience, that potential future in your life as your expression of the now. So you have a very powerful opportunity to really shift your collective trajectory, to really shift how your cultures, your communities express themselves. One of the things we would encourage to assist you in more physically interacting with what we're describing, to make what we're describing more real to you, more tangible for you, is, if you wish, create a list. You can get a piece of paper, drawing a vertical line down the center. And on the left side of the page, you can write down the actions, the energies that you do not prefer. drawing upon the hindsight of the old paradigm, drawing upon the hindsight of experiences that you have had, just neutrally writing down the actions and the energies that you don't prefer to experience in your physical reality. And then on the right side of that line, writing down all of the energies, all of the actions that you prefer to experience in your individual and collective reality that are exciting for you. Become very specific, drawing upon your passion, your imagination to really visualize and see the type of reality you're inspired by, locally and collectively. So you can really draw upon those specific examples from your imagination to hone in on the energies and the actions that really represent your preference. And once you've created this list, you will then very clearly know the themes and the energies that you don't prefer to align with, and the energies and themes and actions that you do. The idea is what you have written and are inspired by on the right side of the page. These are the things to focus upon in your reality each day in some way. It can be literal, it can be abstract. The idea is, regardless, express the energy of what you see on the right side of that page in your life each day. And you will begin to draw upon the idea of that inspired momentum. You will begin to make naturally, just through channeling those things, through channeling that energy, the finishing touches that we have mentioned. And the energy and the themes that are on the left side of the page, the left side of the line. Look here and begin to take note of what you can let go of. Is there anything you can let go of immediately? That's on that side. Is there anything you feel you can let go of gradually? That's on that side. Are there certain energies on that side that represent challenges within yourself that you are ready to let go of? And if so, then the idea is to ask the question when you experience the energies of the left side that you don't prefer, to ask yourself the question, what is the belief system within you that engenders, that creates that energy? And you can begin through realizing the belief systems to disentangle from those energies, from those realities, because as soon as the belief is made conscious, you have let go of that energy. You have let go of your attachment to that version of yourself, to that reality, to that timeline. So through this list, you can begin to become very specific about what you don't prefer and what you do, so you can let go of that which you don't, to make those finishing touches, to really release any baggage, to release any excess that really isn't natural to you. And also so you can draw upon the right side of the list, the more positive side, so you can occupy your life, you can occupy your actions with positive expressions of energy, with your preference. So you know what your preference is, so it's not vague, so it's more real to you, more tangible to you. Because if you know what it is and you've written it out in front of you, you really don't have any excuses in relationship to not feeling like you can connect with it. Because if you know what it is, if you've expressed it, if you've seen it, if you felt it, it's more real to you. And you then have, through your imagination, clear-cut examples of how you can live your life in a positive way that represents the version of Earth you prefer to experience collectively. And we thank you all so much for your attention in this transmission, this update in relationship to your timeline, this update in relationship to your collective energies. And we will now make ourselves available to all of you for questions and dialogue. Let us now begin. Thank you so much thus far for your attention.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to check and see if anyone has any questions. Suzanne, go ahead, Suzanne.
Hi, Ryok.
Ryok, greetings, good day, and how are you?
I'm great. I had listened to one of your messages about telling stories and telling your story, telling my story, and from that story kind of determining what beliefs I hold that
Yes.
maybe I don't want to keep.
Yes.
And I found a lot.
Yes.
A lot of beliefs and a lot of fears and things that I, when I look at my story, I don't like my story that much right now. I kind of feel like I crashed in the waves. I'm a teacher, but I love kids, but I just am overwhelmed with the technology of teaching away from children.
Yes. Yes. We
Rec-
understand.
Recently, I have been able to pick some things back up. I'm starting to see more energy through the internet than I was before.
All right.
And so that helps me better to heal my students. I think my students need more healing than education sometimes.
Yes, which is what most of your culture requires in a certain sense. In relationship to, it's not that individuals lack knowledge or lack ideas. Individuals, in a certain sense, create the experience of a lack of alignment. And it's the lack of alignment that initially creates stress emotionally. It then builds creating pain, and then it can build even further creating disease. That is the effect of not being aligned. So in a certain sense, yes, healing and helping people to align really during these times and in general is incredibly beneficial for all of you, because it's that misalignment that is where many of your experiences of negativity come from.
I see that as my job, especially right now. So I haven't started to create a new story, which is the step number 2, I believe, that you mentioned. But I know that I want to stay with the children, but I don't want to continue with the computer system.
All right.
And so anyway, I'm working on my new story.
All right.
And thank you for the ideas today. This was really great. I like the idea of the old and the new story again in a different format.
Yes, yes. Different formats are important because many of you, utilizing your different belief systems, create different possibilities and probabilities of what types of techniques will work for you. Many of the techniques we share are all really geared to help you achieve a similar effect, but in a different way, which is the letting go of that which does not serve you, the cultivation, the amplification of that which does positively serve you, and the understanding of how you can live your life based off of your excitement and your passion. So we really create different tools for all of you that can assist different members of your civilization in different ways based off of what beliefs and concepts resonate with them. Now, one thing we would like to share with you relates to that which you are expressing to us presently in terms of working with children and the new part of your story. May we elaborate a little bit more on this?
Please.
All right, all right. Now, you are experiencing that which you don't prefer in relationship to the technology, and the technology being an example of something that doesn't really reflect your passion or your joy. Yes?
Yes.
So when this occurs, recognize it's not a negative thing. It may look like a negative thing because it looks like the opposite of your preference, but the opposite of your preference is automatically in service to you. It's automatically positive to you if you have the ability to utilize it in a positive way, if you have the ability to look at that which you don't prefer and say, somewhere in this reflection in myself, there is a new direction that represents my preference. The energy through the non-preference in this situation is being redirected to let you know what you actually do prefer. And that might be a new direction for you, and that might actually be the new story that you are writing.
Mhm.
And you have mentioned a attraction and excitement in relationship to healing.
Absolutely.
And this may be another path for you that you can actually generate and you can actually cultivate. And it can very easily reflect back to you your passion and your preference. It's clear. It's a clear reflection of that which you prefer. So that energy can easily be reflected back to you through that path. So the reason we are mentioning this to you is in many ways you are revealing to yourself just through talking to us what your next steps are. The idea is to begin to take actions that represent those next steps each day in the most exciting way you're able to at the moment, so that new story will begin to write itself. Does that make some sense for you?
Yes.
All right. All right.
And I thank you.
You are very welcome, and we thank you for your attention in our sharing.
Thank you. Okay. Don, do you want to ask the questions from YouTube? Go ahead.
Yes, I can do that. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, I have a question recently from Stephen Helms. His question is, Venus has been on my mind recently. Can you connect and see if she has any messages for me? Thank you so much.
Venus. All right.
Said.
Well, all right. One of the things we'll share in relationship to this idea is archetypally what Venus represents for many of you and why this planetary being that also has certain connections to ancestral mythology is connecting with many of you. Understand that in terms of archetypal energies, the planet of Venus represents love, feminine beauty, creativity, creative expression. And for many of you, this is an aspect of your own consciousness that has not been given ample space to create and sculpt within your lives. So for many of you whom are feeling a connection to Venus, whom are feeling some kind of relationship between either yourself and the planet or yourself in the archetypal representations of that energy, one of the reasons you're likely feeling this is because that creative, expressive energy within you is now being called forth. It's being, in many ways, summoned. And it's a dynamic effort between the archetypal consciousness, which can express itself as your planet, and your own higher selves working together to assist those who have the relationship with the planet in this way in having an opportunity where they can create that space so they can really express their inspired forms of action. And that could be painting, it could be sculpting, it could be singing, it could be fashion, it could be music. There are many different expressions of creative energy and beauty. And the idea is this is a character quality sort of being invoked by the planet at this time. Because in many ways, this is an aspect of your collective consciousness that you're all now beginning to shed more attention towards. You're beginning to cast the light of your consciousness upon this level that exists within all of you. So Venus in many ways is beginning to draw this out more, so more space can be created for this energy to begin to take more of a center stage role for your lives and for your collective. Because again, this is a type of energy that is very inspiring to your collective and is in many ways being asked by your collective to be collectively expressed. So at times, the planets will work with your own higher selves to draw out certain qualities, to draw out certain themes, so that way those energies can be more present in your civilization and in your personal lives.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question I have is from Lana Rios. Her question is, as far as a paradigm shift, since people have many misconceptions about love, what are some of the things that God is or is not that could surprise us?
Well, one of the things to remember is the paradox, because what God is not, in a certain sense, does not actually exist as a reality, because God is all that is. God is all that exists. So all that is, any expression, positive, negative, or neutral, is an expression of God, is an expression of all that is. The paradox lies in the idea that within the consciousness of God, there are two major levels. There is the level of all that is, the expression of God as all things that exist. And then there is what is known as the one, what some of your cultures call the great mystery, which is the level of God that does not know itself. It has no experience. It has no interaction. It is total unknowingness. And because God is, in that sense, all that is, all things that express themselves, all expressions in that sense are of God, you could say, in a paradoxical way, that the one, that aspect of God that has no experience, does not know it's God. Therefore, you could say there's an aspect of God that is not God. But ironically, that's something taking place within the consciousness of what you call God, just on a different level than the level that you experience as the all that is, the existence. So that may be surprising for some of you, to recognize an aspect of God that relates to non-existence, but there is. And that may be very surprising for you. But this aspect is very important because it reveals, again, the quality of mystery, which is why it has that name in some of your ancient cultures, the great mystery, because it represents the quality of the unknown, which is present in every single situation, in every single instance. There will always be an expression of what you consider to be the unknown. And it is the quality of the unknown that then creates the experience of novelty, a new experience, that which was unknown now becoming known. And it's that process of the unknown and the known commingling together, creating one another, that is linearly entangled with how you experience the expansion of all that is. So that expansion process is fundamentally linked with the entanglement of known and unknown creating one another, which is an experience created through all of you, through all nodal points of consciousness. So it is the unknown within you that is actually a driving propeller in relationship to you experiencing the expansion of your life. So in that sense, you could say, linearly speaking, God utilizes the known and the unknown simultaneously to create reality, to create the experience of expansion. But of course, reality creation already exists. But linearly, for all of you whom are witnessing it coming into creation, the known and the unknown is in many ways the spiraling momentum that leads to the unfoldment of your life and your experience of linear time and reality.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna have one last question, then I'll return to Karen.
All
Okay,
right.
this is from Diego C. His question is the brain capable of creating thoughts, or is it just an antenna that receives thoughts based on our frequency? Should we try to have good thoughts or just adjust our frequency?
Well, the idea is to utilize both, and sometimes utilizing positive thinking may be a way of actually adjusting your frequency. So if it excites you to utilize positive thinking, allow for yourself to do so, because that's just an action, in a certain sense, a more subtle action that's assisting you in creating an overall frequency change. But you can also create that change on the feeling level, just through imagining bliss, euphoria, passion. You can also shift the frequency there that way as well. You can also take an action that represents your passion, that represents your joy. That's another way you can shift the frequency. These are all different ways, all different tools, all different permission slips that assist you in creating that frequency shift within your own consciousness. So gravitate to the ones that are most relevant for you in the moment, that are most exciting for you in the moment, because that will be the type of tool that will work best for you. Now, in terms of your brain, recognize your brain is more of a receiver than anything else. However, the brain does have the capacity to create its own frequency, as many of you know, in the sense that it's an electrical organ. It can create its own frequency. It can create its own type of consciousness. And that frequency can then, ironically, be channeled through the brain, and that can relate to certain thoughts that many of you call very mental thoughts, very intellectual thoughts, sometimes egoic thoughts. This can be the idea of the brain's overall frequency being what the brain channels. And in that sense, an individual will channel a more mental expression of themselves, a more mental level of their own consciousness. But through the idea of knowing how to access different states of consciousness, you have the ability to tune the receiving frequency of the brain to any frequency of consciousness that you prefer. And from there, you will find that your thoughts will begin to match the frequency of the reality that your brain is receiving. And certain positive thoughts may help you get into that state. Certain actions may help you get into that state. Certain meditations or energies may help you get there. But ultimately, once you're there, you'll find that you effectively, through being aligned with that frequency of your preference, so that other parallel reality, you can then effectively go into a state of allowance, and you can begin to live your life as if you were channeling that state. And the brain's receiving capacity being tuned to it will allow for your imagination to deliver to you the information, the synchronicities that represent the actions of that reality, so you can express those actions in your life. So that's a little bit about how your brain works, but it's generally a receiver. To some extent as well, in different ways, non-thought related ways, it's also an organizer of your metabolism and other faculties within your body. But in terms of consciousness, it functions primarily as a receiver.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Kat has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Ryok.
Greetings, good day, and how are you?
Good, good. Thank you. I read an article about some physical upgrades happening in mid-October.
Yeah.
And the article states that we will experience some unusual, I don't know, something unusual. Do you know something about this?
Well, when your civilization experiences energetic upgrades, certain people can be more sensitive to it and can have certain phenomena. It depends on the upgrade, the belief systems of the individuals who are then experiencing the upgrade, that will ultimately determine how they affect themselves through the upgrade experience. So it will vary from person to person whenever there is a collective upgrade. Some people may not feel anything at all. Other people may have very powerful moments of awareness and connection to source. Some people may feel they need to rest. It really is determined by the beliefs of the individual and what's appropriate for them in their overall life experience. In terms of activations and upgrades during that particular time, what you know as Halloween represents a timeline convergence point where the timelines that are very greatly associated with what you consider to be Atlantis will begin to converge with your collective frequency of time, which will open up a channel of communication and connection between your timeline and some of the Atlantean timelines. So in that sense, you will be receiving what we consider to be an annual tune-up from that culture, from that civilization, particularly because right now many of you are transforming energies that were very present during the Atlantean times. You're letting a lot of that energy go. So this civilization during the Halloween timeframe will share a great deal of insights with you about their culture, about their collective consciousness. So you have more tools, more resources as you experience and transform those same energies within yourselves. There are a few other phenomenon also occurring in this time frame as well. Oftentimes what will happen is whenever there is a very powerful type of activation or convergence point, other types of portals and energies and beings will be drawn to it because it's almost like a major event within creation. So it draws a lot of energy to it. So there are other overlapping phenomenon present, but that represents a major level of it.
Okay. Second question. I don't want to be accusing. I know the Galactics, they have a quarantine on Earth. But lately I found out that there's a lot of like human trafficking and child trafficking stuff, which I find it disturbing. Now the Galactic Federation, that knowing this, doesn't make them accomplice?
No, and it has to do with the idea of not violating the collective free will of your species. So what these galactic beings will do is they emanate positive states of being, and they channel that energy state into your collective consciousness through different vortex points, different chakra points on your planet. These beings will emanate these frequencies towards individuals on your planet. And what they do is they saturate your species, they saturate your collective with as much positive energy as they are able to do. Your planet is constantly being washed in this energy. The reason for this is so that all of you have an opportunity to be able to make that positive shift within yourself. And as more and more and more of you make that type of positive shift within yourself, you then shift to versions of Earth where individuals are not creating what you consider to be the human trafficking or the wars or the poverty or the diseases, etc. When you align with these energies that the Galactic Federation and other groups are emanating towards all of you, you shift your frequency, and you then no longer are a match for the version of Earth with the child trafficking or with the war or with the famine, etc. You begin to align with a version of Earth that has never had that in the first place. You're no longer resonating with the frequency of that reality. Therefore, you cease creating it. Does that make sense so far for you?
Yeah, well, I understand. But on the other side, I find it very terrible, extremely, extremely terrible.
Yes, and that is an important thing to pay attention to. That type of reaction, that type of response is your way of telling yourself, again, that which you don't prefer. So you know what that energy is, you know what it looks like, and you can even pick all of that a part in relationship to the overall situation. How did that situation get created? Why are individuals choosing that? Begin to play with the different content of that reality you don't prefer, so you can understand it in a greater capacity, so you can observe if any of that energy in any way is somehow connected to your frequency. And you can, in many ways, through that reflection, learn and grow and refine yourself, so you're not a match for it at all. And this is a way you can begin to utilize the feelings that your body is giving you, that your consciousness is sharing with you, to create more positive realities where those types of energies and those types of expressions are not a part of the reality. But to create that, it requires a letting go of the energies that give rise to such reflections. And that's one of the reasons why this particular subject you call human trafficking really activates so much within all of you, because in many ways it's revealing to all of you the different types of connections you have with those types of realities, so you can ultimately let those aspects of yourself go. So you can let those things become transformed as you choose a new self. That's one of the reasons the feeling effect is so intense, because of the connection.
What happens with the spirit of a child who gets to experience such a horrible?
Well, in terms of their spirit, what you are referring to, their soul in that sense, it's not affected in the same way the physical consciousness is affected. The soul in that sense recognizes the entire reality itself is a dream. It recognizes that all consciousness within that dream are just different expressions of itself, different expressions of its own energy. So it's almost as if you woke up from a dream that seemed very real and you said, wow, what a crazy dream. Oh my God. There were parts of it that were really exciting. There were parts of it that were terrifying. There were parts of it that were mysterious. When a being transitions into spirit, it's like they're waking up from a dream. They know it was just a dream. So children that transition, whom have been through abuse, when they wake up, they know the reality was just a dream. And these children, in that sense, are able to see from that soul point of view why everything occurred the way it did, why that was the ultimate co-creation that was selected. And they're aware of the soul contracts, they're aware of all of the different components that represent why that co-creation took place, which one of the reasons it's taking place, again, is to really awaken within each of you where certain connections to those realities, to those energies may be present. So again, you can let them go. So that way your culture can collectively transform itself in a very deep, fundamental way. So the soul, the spirit, is not affected because it knows that the experience in the physical reality is a dream. It learns from that experience, just as you interpret your dreams, as you learn from your dreams, as you grow from your dreams and are informed by them. The soul consciousness will use the physical reality dream in a similar way. It'll create that kind of effect. The physical consciousness of that soul may have a very different experience, of course. It may be very negative. It may be very traumatic. And that's because they are the ones in that co-creation. They are the ones in the dream. It's that level of the consciousness that's actually in the physical dream. So it is where the effect is had. Does that make sense for you?
So does this add to the to their karma, consciousness karma?
Well, karma in many ways is self-created because it's an energy that is determined by the individual's perspective in relationship to the one who has gone through the event that relates to potential karma. So it's one's perspective and energy in response to an event that determines the quality, so to say, of the karma. Because your karma changes instantly from one moment to the next when you shift your vibration, because two different people have two different karmic forces that are related to them. So as you create change within yourself and you go from being one person to another person, you have created different karma, different energy, because the karma is created in the moment by your energy. So it can, just like all things, have an effect on karma, but ultimately how that effect plays out is really up to the experiencer, the perceiver of that energy.
Is this this things happen because they somehow have a soul contract?
Yes. That is why the bulk of all of your experiences across your reality happen by contract. This conversation is by soul contract. It is in that sense very, very, very common.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
We thank you for your questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, there's a question from Richard Ding. Richard, did you want to ask?
Yes, greetings.
Greetings, good day, and how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being here. And I have been following Bashar, a very famous Isasani energy on this planet.
All
In that
right.
energy.
All right. Yeah.
My question for you. Today we are at the high, all-time high of this ascension period, and more people awaken. As light workers, we found we have been attacked by dark energy more and more often. And I'm wondering if we can use your great energy to us remove this dark attachment, if there is any.
No, because there's not really an attachment. The attachment is an experience that's created through your belief system that says we're being attacked, we're being oppressed. Now, understand that we're not telling you to deny the negative experiences that you experience in your collective, in your culture, in your life. We're not saying to deny it and say it's not there. We are saying to recognize that that experience that you don't prefer represents a door. It's a door to another timeline. It's a door to another reality. That's not what you prefer. And that's why a symbol that is not of your preference is what you're experiencing. It's representing an entire trajectory, an entire timeline, an entire experience that is not of your preference. So whenever you see these negative things showing up in your reality, the experience of being attacked, the experience of a perpetrator or an oppressor, etc., recognize they're a symbol for a door. If you don't desire to walk down the hallway connected to that door, if you don't want to go down that timeline, the idea is don't match their frequency. And one of the ways that you no longer match their frequency is by not creating your reality in a way that's similar to theirs. If you're creating reality in a way that does not reflect your preference, then you end up resonating with those timelines. They become more present, they become more visible, and they become more real in terms of your experience of them. But if you are creating your reality in a positive way, in a way that is not harmonious with their reality, then what ends up happening is you shift to another expression of time, to another timeline altogether that is based off of your positive state, your positive energy. So we're not asking you to deny the presence of these things. We're asking you to consider changing how you're perceiving them. Instead of saying, this is happening in my world, you can say, this is a doorway. I don't have to go down that door. I can choose to match the frequency of a more positive reality, and I can express that reality through my actions. I can live my life as if I am not being attacked, as if I am not being oppressed. I can express myself in a way that truly vibrationally resonates with the reality of my highest joy. So when someone's belief systems say, I'm being attacked by this group, I'm being oppressed by this group, they have power over me, they're controlling my life, they're hurting me, etc. When that is defined, as the individual's reality, they then become synchronized with it. They become synchronized with that experience, and the negative expressions, the negative timelines, the negative themes and energies become what they experience because they've matched it, they've resonated with it. So it's not that any of you need protection or you need some kind of extra help to free you or liberate you. What's really required is that you recognize the potential in yourself to be who you are, to express yourself as naturally as possible, and to live that. And through living that, you no longer resonate with the reality of these groups, and you will observe them getting further and further and further away as time goes on. But the idea is, in the meantime, before that split, that schism really occurs in a very prominent way, to continue to maintain that frequency as you experience that reality split getting greater and greater and greater. Does that answer your question for you? Did that make sense?
Wow. I think it not only answered my question, it has provided me a brand new degree of looking at all these prevalent issues in this Ascension time. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome, and we greatly appreciate you as well. Now, we will share one other detail about that topic. You asked if we could share our energy to assist. Understand we are always sharing our energy through creating an awareness of our frequency, through remembering how you feel when you listen to us speak through the channel. You can dial into our frequency, and you can effectively use our energy as a form of guidance to assist you in guiding yourself in relationship to that preferred direction. So we are available as guidance and as an energy state you can use to effectively guide yourself as if you were us. So that is something we are always offering to each of you. And you may find that that as an exercise is very useful for you during these times of change.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, Karen.
I'm so sorry. I was talking with the mic muted. Sorry. Fleur has a question. Go ahead, Fleur.
Hi, nice to meet you, Ryok. It's very
Hey, pleasure to meet you as well.
yeah, my pleasure. So this is my first time to channeling. Well, I have a question, quite personal. Well, I try to explain myself. I feel I'm not a real Earth being, even I'm in a human body. And I feel that I'm coming from somewhere in universe. Well, I didn't feel that since a long time because I just got awakening since last year. So I'm wondering about my real identity, but I cannot remember anything. So I'm wondering if I'm a star seed or a cosmos wanderer, as many people saying. And my question is, if yes, I'm wondering from which dimension and star I'm coming from and what's my mission here. So if you could help me have a clearer idea about that, I will be very grateful. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Now, in terms of your true identity, in terms of what you actually are, you are fundamentally all that is. You are a microcosmic expression of the infinite. You are a microcosmic expression of all of creation.
Sure.
That's actually your true identity. But that, again, is only one level of your true identity. The other level, again, relates to what we have called the one, the great mystery. That, in a certain sense, is also an aspect of your identity. It's the aspect of your identity that feels like it doesn't know itself and that there's more.
Yeah.
And that it wishes to explore. So understand that that drive that you feel is actually a part, in a certain way, of your fundamental identity, which is, ironically, that you are everything experiencing itself as one specific thing, one something.
Yeah.
So recognize that that is your true identity. And through understanding that, you can observe your life from the bigger picture point of view, where you see yourself as everything, as the reality around you, as the people in your life. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
All right.
Totally.
Now, as you become more aware of all of the different expressions in your reality, again, you will notice some expressions, some experiences, some examples that you don't prefer. You will also experience some examples, some people, some expressions that you do. And this is a way of getting to know who you are on that more microcosmic level. Because whom you are fundamentally expresses itself with certain preferences, with certain directions, with certain impulses. And the directions that represent that which you prefer reveal to you the qualities of who and what you are. The directions, the expressions, the energy that do not reflect what you prefer reflect back to you who you are not. So you know that that's not for you. It's not a part of who you really are. The actions, the examples, the directions that represent your preference are showing you the qualities, again, of who you are. So this is another way you can get to really explore and know yourself. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
All right.
So thank you very much.
All right.
May I ask a second question?
In one moment, we have just a little bit more to share with you on this topic. Is that all right?
Oh, great.
All right, all right. Now recognize that many of you oftentimes will feel as if you're literally from another planet, as if you're from another world altogether and Earth is not your home. And generally speaking, that feeling is relating to two major phenomena. The first being that you all have incarnations in other places other than Earth, in other realities, in other dimensions. Some of you have that as the bulk of the other incarnations that your soul is currently plugging into. So it's almost as if on the soul level, your consciousness is more accustomed to the energy of other places, of other planets, of other densities. So to the consciousness on Earth, sometimes because they feel that intense otherworldly connection that their soul possesses, it can sometimes feel as if they're a little out of place, or they're sort of in another type of world that they're not used to. Sometimes that can be a causality. The idea is when that occurs, when an individual begins to feel as if they are from another world because their soul is connecting to all of those otherworldly incarnations, that's actually an opportunity for them to tune in to their otherworldly extraterrestrial lifetimes that their soul is having. So those energies can be downloaded into the earth experience. So the earth experience doesn't feel as alien. It feels more like home. So that's actually one of the creative requests, so to say, of that feeling, is to begin to create one's experience on earth in a way that reflects and relates to the experiences of other planets, of other dimensions, of other realities. So that way the individual is creating their life in a way that reflects some of the themes of their soul, and also allows for those more exotic high frequency energies to then be grounded into the experience of physical reality. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
All right. The final thing we will share with you about this is in terms of some of your soul's major extraterrestrial incarnations that you're connected to. Many a times has your soul incarnated in the Sirius system. The Sirius system relates to beings that are hybrids, that are humanoid. Some are reptile-like, some are like dolphins, some are like the whales. There is a variety of different exotic life that exists within this system and within its associated realities.
Well, that confirmed my feeling. Yeah. Actually, I feel that I'm coming from Sirius. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps Sirius B, planet B. I think it was my feeling. So I don't know if
Yes.
it's
One of the planets orbiting Sirius B. Yes.
yeah.
One of the planets. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much.
You are welcome.
That's why I feel home there.
Yes, yes. And now you have an opportunity to allow for your Earth home to remind you of some of these other homes your soul has shared. And
Sure.
just as you begin to download in your own way, your own creative way, those energies from Sirius, you'll be opening a door so they can download some of your energies into their reality experience.
Totally.
Yes.
And can you read something about my mission here? Of this life or on Earth or
one area we would encourage you to investigate, again, if it's exciting to you, the idea of working with plants, the idea of gardening, the idea of growing different types of plants, particularly to develop a very strong relationship with nurturing and tending to something. What we are sharing with you now is a description of actions you can take that will cultivate within you energies that relate to what you consider to be your purpose. But remember, your purpose fundamentally is to be yourself.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that is your purpose. Now, how you choose to do that is up to you. And your passion will guide you in that direction. It will show you which options, which choices really are the ones that most greatly represent you. However, we are detecting in you, there is an energy which is linked to what we have just described that you may be able to cultivate. Again, there's many ways, but one way is through growing and tending to life, cultivating life. We are detecting that should you express yourself as a healer, be it with energy or with plants, that you will likely have a natural proclivity for it.
Okay, that's great. I will do that.
All right, all right. Have fun.
So thank you so much for your help. And
thank you as well.
We need to move on.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. There is a question from the YouTube chat that says about the portal energy of Los Angeles, California. There's a question saying, intuitively, I feel called there as an empath for healing in some capacity. Can you share this, please, about going to a portal of energy in California?
Well, again, if it represents your joy and your passion, and you're feeling that pull, then you know it's the direction for you. If it's truly the most exciting thing you can do in the moment, then that is your direction. And when you get there, it may look different. It may feel a little different than how you are imagining it, but that's okay. Know that once you are there, if that's truly your passion, then the next step will make itself obvious and apparent. So, of course, because your society is going through great change during this time, be responsible, etc. However, you know what's true for you based off of that frequency. So trust that frequency, follow it, and continue to follow it. Once you have chosen the most exciting option, stay in that positive state, and then choose the next most exciting one, act that out, stay in the positive state, go into the next one, continue to choose. It's a ladder that you get to climb. So if you find that going to Los Angeles, going to this portal really represents your passion, then that's the next rung in the ladder.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
There's another question from Jess, and she says, what insight? Oh, sorry, it's the same question. It's just typed twice. Never mind.
All right.
Okay. There's a question from David. Go ahead, David.
Hello.
Greetings, good day. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good right now. Oh my goodness, this week has been really super challenging. It's been different than most of the experiences. I'm wondering about some guidance and knowledge to have clarity on what I've been experiencing. I've had an experience where maybe it was high blood sugar or something like that, where I had to call the ambulance. And ever since then, I've been either going into fear or feeling like just out of the blue, like I couldn't breathe and I was being attacked. And I want to understand if my physical health is strong and I'm just experiencing something that's because of my thoughts, or if I'm being attacked, and how to understand how to move forward, because I have something really important, a journey that I have to do in the next 2 days. And this may really help me be able to stay in balance and accomplish this traveling.
All right. Well, we look at it like this. You are lightening your load for the journey. What you are experiencing, these feelings, these energies, these are all the things that you are being asked to put down, to let go of as you move in this new direction.
Yeah.
So one of the things you can begin to do to really shift the energy up for yourself is when you detect these things are emerging within you and you find yourself choosing to go into a negative direction, if that's what you observe yourself doing, slow down for a moment and allow for yourself to go into gratitude, to go into celebration as energies in relationship to the negative experience that you're having. Because as soon as you choose to respond that way to it, it can no longer be negative for you. It's literally impossible for it to truly be negative anymore for you if you respond to it with that energy of gratitude and celebration, because you have taken it out of the role of a problem or a threat or a bad thing, and you have begun to put it into a new category, a new box of a friend, a helper, a companion, a loved one, because that's what the more positive energy states of gratitude and celebration align with. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, that's truly a beautiful perspective.
Yes. And as you begin to align with that, you'll find that the positive energy will begin to become more natural. You'll start to feel that in you more as you respond to each negative stimuli with that energy. And as you begin to go into that celebration type of energy and that gratitude energy, allow for yourself to then neutrally observe, cultivating the energy of neutrality, neutrally observe whatever it is that represented the negative expression. Just look at it neutrally after having been thankful for it, after having celebrated it, and then allow for yourself to then ask what the belief system is within you that creates that feeling. And from that neutral perspective, you will be able to receive from that aspect of your consciousness represented as the feeling, the underlying belief that engenders it in the first place. And as we have said, once you receive that belief, you have let go of it automatically. And as you receive the belief, go again into the gratitude and the celebration to maintain the positive momentum, to maintain that positive state. And you'll find each thing that you let go of will relate to the emotional intensity decreasing more and more and more until eventually you'll find you're perpetually in the state of gratitude and celebration, and you're not experiencing the negativity anymore. Because in many ways, the negativity is getting louder and louder, so you can let go of the belief systems that empower it. That's why many of you experience spikes in negative energy, specifically not because you're doing anything wrong or something bad's happening. It's your body and mind's way of letting you know that you're ready to let go of this, and that the belief system that engenders that energy is ready to be released. Does that make sense for you?
Yes, I got most of that. I'll have to listen to the replay. I got a little distracted.
All right.
With someone asking the questions. So, do you see? Are you able to see about these things? Is there anything related to my physical health, or was it just more of a thought experience?
Well, there is a relationship. These energies have a physical effect, which you're experiencing. Yes, you feel that in your body. So
yeah, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I had to call the ambulance yesterday.
yes. So there is a physical effect that the energies have. But as we're saying, as you begin to let go of the beliefs that empower those energies, you will have less of the physical effects. But there is a connection. But the connection does not have to express itself in that way. You can allow for it to express itself in a more balanced way through letting go of those belief systems. That's why it's getting louder, to get your attention so you can recognize it's time to let those ideas go. So as we have said, from the state of gratitude and celebration, look at whatever the negative situation, energy is, neutrally observe it, and then ask it what its underlying belief system is. What must I believe to be true in order to be experiencing this feeling? As you receive that belief system, go back into the gratitude, go back into the celebration. And you will then have let go of that belief system, which empowers the energy that has the connection to the physical body. So you can then begin to decrease that relationship connection between these negative energies and the expression of the physical body. Does that make sense for you?
Yes, that's amazing. Wonderful.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Robert had a follow-up question. Go ahead, Robert. Robert, did you guys hear me or not?
Yeah, sorry, it's Suzanne.
Okay. Okay.
But the quick question was, thank you for everything. Thank you for the last information. Everything's been just very helpful.
You are very welcome. And we thank you for your appreciation and gratitude as well.
You mentioned earlier about a group of beings that are washing the earth with energy, kind of a high vibration.
Yes.
And I wondered if this was a collective of sorts. Arcturians, for example, visit me.
Multiple collectives.
Okay.
Some of them work together, others are completely independent. However, they are all unified by the same goal, which relates to, again, really reminding your species of what it is at its core. Really reminding all of you of your, which you call divinity, your illumination, your true nature. So that's the overall unifying goal of these beings. And some of them are from other galaxies. Some of them are from your own solar system. Some of them are from other dimensions altogether. And they work to assist your collective in really remembering that true state so your planet can eventually choose that energy as its baseline for how all of you interact and relate to one another.
That's wonderful.
Yes, yes. And it takes one to know one, so to say. So in your recognition of how wonderful that is, recognize you can only be experiencing that because something equally wonderful is present within you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you would like to explore this day of your time?
Yes or no?
I'm sorry. No, that's perfect. That's
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
We
Thank you
so much.
All right. Krellick is here. Hey, welcome, Krellick. It's a long time.
Hello,
Greetings, good day, and how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
We are ecstatic and delighted to be conversing with you in this way.
All right. I had a question about moral ambiguity, or what some people would call gray morality. Is there such a thing as gray morality? Because when it comes to topics like positive versus negative karma or light and darkness, well, one of the things that people like to do is that they say, well, if I do a bad thing to achieve a good outcome, like if I were to steal from someone else in order to, let's say, feed myself or my family, does that create negative karma? And if it does create negative karma, how is that fair if the person who is stealing is just trying to survive? I wanted to get your opinion on that.
All right. In general, the belief system that engenders the action of needing to steal to help another more often than not comes from a place of lack in an individual where they believe there's no other way to assist someone, there's no other way to assist themselves. Therefore, they must break the law or steal in order to achieve that goal of assisting someone else or assisting themselves. And because they believe that that's the only way that it can happen, they are utilizing a belief system that is overall more negative. It is more segregative. It's not inclusive of other options. It's not inclusive of other positive possibilities or probabilities. It pigeonholes somebody's option selection to stealing. So off the bat, the energy of the belief system that normally engenders the action of stealing comes from a limiting place, and in that sense comes from a more negative energy dynamic. Therefore, in some ways, based off of that, the karma, the self-created energy ripple effect that the individual creates is slightly negative because of that belief system. Now, again, there's probably a few other belief systems that are at play as well, such as the individual really believing they are helping someone or they are helping themselves and they are really doing a fundamentally positive thing. That's another belief that may be at play here. And it's almost as if the positive belief and negative belief are two different ingredients that an individual is using in a soup that will become the overall karma, so to say, of their experience. So experiences are somewhat gray sometimes because they can have blends of negative and positive belief systems that create states of being, karmic states that are either positive, negative, or blends of both, depending on the ratio of positive and negative beliefs. It's possible to only use positive beliefs and positive actions that align with them, and a person will only generate positive karma. And the same can be true for negative, and then, as we've said, you can blend both of them. So a gray area can exist in a sense, but it's only because an individual is mixing black and white, so to say. So they get gray. Does that answer your question for you?
Yes, that does make a little bit of sense. And I had a second question.
All right.
Yeah, it was a question in regards to the idea of of class of class systems within society, and whether or not the idea of, let's say, being rich or being poor is something that exists within more advanced planetary societies, or if those type of things only exist on less evolved planets like on Earth.
Generally
I
less evolved. Understand that the beings that utilize those types of class systems more often than not are only doing that out of a sense of needing to feel superior, so compensating for an underlying sense of being invalid or not worthy. And that oftentimes will create different class systems in cultures. But as individuals begin to recognize that they are the reality, they are all of the individuals across all class systems, the sense of needing to be superior begins to diminish, because all of a sudden you recognize everyone and everything is you. So to separate and segregate and to restrict and to limit others through systemic influence, etc., becomes completely irrelevant. So as beings evolve and they begin to recognize they are the reality, they are one another, oftentimes class systems in the way you're talking about them generally go out the window, because it really only comes from a place of some people believing they need more in order to compensate, and some people believing they cannot receive because they're not worthy or they're invalid or they're bad. So class systems generally will come from belief systems at the start that are more negative and are unnatural. Hence the idea of it being a part of societies that are lower in terms of their evolutionary progress.
Okay, because I've noticed that throughout my travels that more advanced societies tend to be more egalitarian than less evolved planets like Earth. I wasn't sure if class was something that existed on other planets.
There are different classes of people, but not socioeconomic in the way that you have it on Earth. Different classes more so representing different themes of someone's preferred avenue of exploration. Does that make sense? It's not like a hierarchical socioeconomic class. It's more like different classes of expression.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You are quite welcome.
Okay, thank you. One second. My cat is blocking the screen. There's another question from Fleur. Go ahead, Fleur.
Okay, thank you. Ryok, recently I feel very strong energy from universe, and we heard a lot about things like the war between darkness and light, and the ascension, the event. So I'm wondering if we are not living in a VR game finally after all. I feel a kind of upgrade, software upgrade in my body, in my mind, and so sometimes I feel that perhaps we are just in a game. So I don't know if you can say something about that, or perhaps I'm getting crazy.
Can you repeat this question for us? It was a little challenging to make out your words at times. You simplify it a little bit more for us.
Well, yeah. My question is, after all, are we living in a virtual reality game? Are we in a game, finally?
Yes, you are. You're living in a sort of simulation of your own consciousness that expresses what you consider to be the physical reality. So you are in a game in a sense. You can't really lose the game, but you can play the game in ways that more greatly reflect who you are, your preferred path, than other ways.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a question from KDF 19. If you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, since I've been listening to like the other first contact specialists you guys have, and kind of integrating the techniques that you guys use in your civilization, I know I have connections to your society, like some incarnations there. What's the percentage of people on Ellison that are also here as incarnations during this time?
Most of our population has counterparts with your contemporary society. And this is one of the reasons why our species is so intimately involved in guiding all of you. It has to do not just with the genetic connection, although that's a very big component. It also has to do with the idea of many of you and many of us sharing the same souls.
Okay. How much? So I know that we're going to transition into the sixth hybrid race and everything. What sort of time frame is that going to be happening in?
That will be a process that spans over 100 years. It will begin with the idea of contact with the hybrid children, which will allow for your species to become more acclimated to extraterrestrial frequencies and energies. That will then coincide and will pave the way for open contact with other species. And as your Earth and planet begin to transform and change through all of the changes you'll be creating with the assistance of the extraterrestrials that will be coming, that will over time peak. And as it peaks, you will then begin to give rise to a new species that you call the sixth hybrid race. But this evolutionary progress coincides with what is natural for you. It's a bit more accelerated than what you're used to, but it's still natural for you because you are evolving and growing with all experiences that you have. So this hybridization process and new species is occurring in synchrony with that trajectory.
That makes quite a bit of sense. Also, I know there's supposed to be another moon that's going to be orbiting our planet called the Sentinel moon. Do you have any read on about the time period that happens?
This is something that will likely occur in between the process of open contact and the sixth hybrid race. By that time, it is likely your technologies will be sophisticated enough to be able to assist in the co-creation of that particular expression of a celestial body.
Oh, so we'll actually be the ones catching it and kind of helping put it in place.
Yes, there will be involvement between your kind and others in that process, and it will likely mark a collaboration moment between the different species.
That actually helps out a lot because I've said that to a few people, but they didn't quite. I don't care if they believe me or not, but I just tell them like this is something that's eventually going to happen in our future, but I just have no idea when.
And remember, you can always tune in to these realities ahead of time.
Oh yeah, no, I've started operating like a society, like I become somewhat quasi-physical with my consciousness, where I just kind of like I can shift to different time frames pretty easily.
Yes, yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yes, it is, isn't it? To experience a multitude of different frequencies and flavors of creation.
Yeah, it's kind of like a preview of what humans will be like in the future, where they can like with parallel reality specialists, where they can just kind of shift their consciousness to different realities all the time. So.
Yes, precisely.
And it is what all of you are moving into in your own unique way, because you already are your own parallel reality specialists. It's just not all of you have yet recognized it.
Okay, thank you very much.
And we thank you for your gift and your co-creation.
Hi, I have a question, Ryok, if I may. In the last couple meditations I've done, so at some point this week, I can't exactly tell you which day, I really had the sensation of being able to shift into different places that they're all places I've been, but to be able to be there for split seconds, and then also not only, I would assume that was currently sensing and being in that place, but also then in different time points of my life. And I was really playing with it. And I would say it was like bilocating, but I don't know that I was bilocating, but on an astral level, I really was. And at one point I was somewhere where I actually leaned down and picked up the sand of the place where I was and was able to feel it in my hand. So do you have any description for what you would term that as?
Bilocation is a term that could suffice. Mechanically, what you're doing is you are allowing for your consciousness to match the frequency of the other location, the other reality. And because, again, your true identity, your consciousness is all things, you're simply tuning into another aspect of yourself. So you're mechanically allowing for yourself to experience your true infinite nature, and you're then, from that bird's eye point of view, honing in with the specific frequency of other locations so you can more powerfully experience their energies. And you're, in addition to this, blending your unique parallel reality and its locational energy with the energetics of the other reality that you're tuning into. So you're also hybridizing reality through that process, creating a third reality from blending the two. So bilocating is partially what's occurring here, but more occult is the idea of actually creating a third reality from blending both of them. And then that becomes the reality experience that you gradually allow for more and more and more of your consciousness to perceive.
Okay. Because I actually felt the movement of myself. It's a very quick shift, but if you've ever been in one of those sort of, well, maybe you haven't, but we have these things like roller coasters, but they kind of can go sideways. They're like spinning tops, and all of a sudden they'll dart one way and dart the other and dart the other. I guess it's not a roller coaster, but it's like a ride. And I was feeling that within my being of darting back and forth and sideways and all kinds of different directions. It wasn't unpleasant. It was just a sensation that I experienced at the time.
Yes. You're observing the ping-ponging between
that's a good word.
realities as they stabilize. As they stabilize, you'll find that it will become more seamless. But initially, as you're matching the frequency, you'll feel the energy dynamic between the two realities as their frequencies become more resonant, which is where the third reality is then created from, that resonant point between them.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, David has another question. Go ahead, David.
All right.
Hello, hello.
Greetings, good day, and how are you?
Good, good. So I'd like to understand better, have clarity on discerning when any of these types of experiences that we have come up, to know the difference if you have like an already a regular physical health issue, or it's just like something that was created by your thoughts and something that you're experiencing that you don't like, that you want to let go. And some, maybe some people call it an attack. I felt like it was an attack. So any kind of clarity to decipher the difference so that I know that I can work through it instead of, or to call for help because it's just an existing physical condition that needs attention.
Well, have you been evaluated physically for it?
No.
All right. And is it exciting for you to be evaluated physically for it?
No.
All right. So what is the most exciting way for you to explore this phenomenon? As you scan the different options, which one reflects back to you the greatest level of passion?
Maybe connecting with psychics or going into like a meditation and scanning and intuitively seeking out messages from within.
All right. All right. So we want you to, if you will, recognize in this moment where your passion has led you, because that in many ways represents the most relevant door for you. Now, to go back to the question you have asked or the request you have given for us to elaborate more on the idea of disease versus disease caused by thoughts and energy. There's no difference. There's no difference. They are the same. They are the same. Fundamentally, they are the same. Because most of diseases that you have in your physical reality come from imbalances in one's life, whether it be an imbalance of toxins or an imbalance of food or water or air, etc. Disease comes from the idea of certain imbalances in the system. These imbalances exist because of actions taken empowered by belief systems that are not positive. Because if the belief system is positive, it includes the whole picture. It's harmonious with all of creation. It's working in synergy. Therefore, the body and how the body expresses itself will match the energy of the positive belief. Therefore, the body consciousness will then be healthy. But if these imbalances exist, they only exist because on some level, negative belief systems are inspiring actions that manifest as imbalances over time. And then this is where certain diseases and issues come from. There are some diseases individuals are born with for different reasons, oftentimes to act as a form of education to assist others who observe them in some of the lessons that relate to compassion and healing and connection. But more often than not, most of your diseases come from the idea of belief systems that are negative. And again, that will over time create restriction. That restriction creates stress. Stress then creates pain, and the pain can then create disease. So there's an energetic basis for all of it. The idea of saying, oh, this is a real thing that is not connected to my beliefs or my energy is in many ways not accurate with how reality is created. All things come from that level because it's from that level that you create all of your experience. Does that make sense for you? Is that illuminating?
That helps quite a bit. In relation to healing that, I did find something of what you're saying, some imbalance. I found a lump, and I'm wondering, I prefer not to go the traditional route that some people go. I'm a healer. I'd rather see if I can heal it myself. What kind of guidance do you have on healing the body when you have like a possible really serious issue going on, to know if that's a good way to go, or to what I need to do to heal a lump and reverse that condition created by the thoughts and the imbalance.
Well, the idea would be to recognize it does not have to be this or that. To effectively heal and treat and work with the body, sometimes it can be useful to have more information about what exactly you're treating and what exactly is going on with the system. So you can blend both. You don't have to say, I'm just going to treat it myself. You can, but understand there's more options available to you. And it's important to pay attention to your belief systems, about what you believe you need to be healthy, because many of you believe you need medical attention, medical interventions in order to be healthy in certain experiences. And if those are your beliefs, it's important to honor them, so that way you're honoring yourself and the paradigm that you're using. So pay attention to the belief systems, because you can blend both. You can treat it yourself. You can also work with energy to assist, and recognize too that having more information can also be useful. And if you believe that that will support you and that will serve you positively, then utilize that option because you believe that it will benefit you. So that's another level to really pay attention to here. Not to work against beliefs that you have put in place. If they serve you and you believe you need them, use them. And that may mean getting another opinion from someone. That may mean having it looked at. It may also mean using energy and sending healing energy to that area while that's occurring. It can look like a multitude of different things, but it's important that you follow your compass holistically as you explore this theme. Not pushing things away, not just labeling things as negative, really taking time to observe what you believe will work for you and going with that.
Okay. Yeah, I had a similar experience, and the last experience with the same exact issue was to just do surgery without any other options. So I was able to not do it, and it turned out okay that time. But that doesn't, I have to, so integrating may be possible to see if they have changed things since the last 10 years. So thank you for that idea, and
You are very welcome.
move forward in this process. Much
All right.
love. Oh, can I say some light language real quick to you?
Please repeat yourself.
May I speak some light language to you real quick before I
Yeah.
go?
If you wish.
Love. Kuramanania tu pra angeshkra atashania aturo kukuesha. Shilamanania tu pranjikr ukutusin shibara etiasha. Peace, love, blessings.
Our unconditional love to you as well, and we thank you for your gift.
Thank you. We don't have any more questions. So I thought maybe for the last 2 minutes, maybe you could leave us with some last parting words, if that would be great for you. Thank you.
We are happy to do so. We thank you for the invitation. Recognize that as your civilization continues to accelerate, and as you move through these gateways of energy we have mentioned that act as precursor gateways for your civilization's expansion, your civilization's reopening, we invite you to remember that a level of this is the idea of what you consider to be the boundary between the physical and non-physical realities blending. The type of gateway that you are moving through and will be moving through as your society opens back up relates to that boundary between physical and non-physical reality blending. In other words, that same type of effect will be playing out in your own consciousness collectively, which will allow for all of you to have greater access to downloading from your imagination energies and information that can relate to you really sculpting and crafting a personal and collective reality that represents your dreams and your excitement. So we would encourage you during these times to begin to recognize that you are in a living dream. You are in a physical reality dream. And your imagination is like tuning into the dreamer and downloading from the dreamer energies that you can sculpt and craft into your lucid dream. We encourage you begin to really rework how you see your imagination, how you see yourself. See the imagination as the subconscious mind of the dreamer. You as the lucid dreamer, drawing upon the content from that database to lucidly create the dream of your preference. And we thank you all so much for the unique co-creation of this interaction. And as always, it is our civilization's highest joy, passion, and excitement to be able to play with each of you in this unique way. We wish you all a good day, and our unconditional love to you eternally.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you need any water or anything like that? I don't know if you have.
Oh, that's I don't have any in the room, but I'll procure some for myself in a moment. I'll just take
All
this
right.
time.
Why don't you just as we go, so thank you very much from the bottom of all of our hearts for the wonderful sharing and channeling and spending time with us. If you can give your announcements of what you have coming and also how people can get in touch with you, that would be the best way to end this.
Sure
Beautiful.
thing. So for getting in contact with me, you can email me at tellison700@gmail.com. And for private sessions, you can message me right through there, or you can go to my website, yinyangchanneling.com, where you can get private sessions with Ryok. And they're a lot of fun. So I definitely encourage people, if you're curious, to explore that, because there's some of my favorite moments with people. And we just had our event last night, like I was saying, playing with polarity. We'll have another event coming up in October. The title and date have not been announced yet, but as soon as we know that, we'll make some promos, some announcements. So stay tuned. And if you want to stay up to date with my content, if you want to see any of the videos and recordings we've released thus far, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Health Thyself. I'm on YouTube. You can find me there. And to stay up to date with Ryok events and channelings, you can join the Ryok Channeling Facebook group, and we can also connect there. So that's all I got right now for updates and announcements, but more to come soon. So stay tuned. And I'm looking forward to all of the co-creations that are here and unfolding.
Perfect. 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 So thank you very much and much love to everyone. And next week, Jim will be back and we'll see everybody next week. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We're only 10 subscribers away from 5,000. So please push us up over the edge. Yeah, it's like a milestone. So I'd like to get there. All right. Much love to everyone. And we will see you next time.
All right, everybody.